Hello everybody, this is a very large object, and I'm going to do a Beware video on Forza Horizon 3. Now, the game is a fantastic game, not on PC though. So, we're going to just see how beautiful the game is on my current settings. I have dynamic settings on, and I have it on low. Now, you're probably wondering, oh, well, don't you have a RX 480 and a FX 8350 that's overclocked and the RX 480 is undervolted? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I do have that undervolted and underclocked. I can, in fact, show you all what is going on with it. I'll do that in another video. So essentially like part 2, where I can show you guys what's actually going on in terms of each core and how it's operating and all that. So I'm going to Alt Tab real quick. Now I know that's very dangerous to do while the game is running, but I'm going to go to Task Manager. I don't know if you can see this. I hope you do. I'll go to Task Manager and I'm going to click on Details. And now this, some people say this works. I'm going to set this to high priority. And I'm also going to set affinity to it. Not all processors, but every single one except for Core 0. So I'm going to do that, and then what am I going to do else? So, hardware info. I'm going to also run this as well. Yes. So, run. So, it's going to sense everything that's going on. So, of course. Let me go back to the game. Now the game could be not responding, it could be responding, I don't know. Personally, I would rather prefer it would be crashed because it's a shit game anyway. Close. So, there we go. And let me change the settings here. Let me go to drive. So, I've set everything to low. By low dynamic settings. So we'll see how the game actually runs with dynamic low setting. So there's that. Now you're probably thinking, oh, it doesn't look too terribly bad. No, that would be all well and good if it didn't stutter every 3 seconds. So I'm going to turn full screen off. Okay. And I'm going to go over down to there, and I'm going to do it this way. This way you can clearly see everything that's going on. I know it's a different setup than what I'm usually doing, but it's worth a shot. So I know the game is in a smaller video, and some people will not be able to see the frame rate, but as I have it locked to 30, so let me show you settings, video, and let's uncap it. Let's see what happens when I do that. Save and continue. Not much more. Still capping itself out mostly at 30. It goes a little higher, but so let's try a race. Cause what's the point of a game if I can't race in it? Yeah.
Turn around when it is safe to do so.
And yes, I do have it set to manual transmission.
Keep left. You have arrived at your destination.
Let's try this race. gonna stay in this car here. So, as you can clearly see, none of the cores seem to be maxing out, and my GPU clock seems to be at its regular boost clock. And as you can clearly see, that's a very terrible frame rate there. That's awful. My card should at least push twice those frames at this setting. I would say 3 times. So let's try this again. So far so good, right? Oh, what was that? That was a stutter. And I apologize for the video quality that this game has, but this is the only way to properly demonstrate somewhat playable stuff. Oh, look at this. This is beautiful. Fantastic. So keep that in mind when you're trying to pick this game up. Because of it being a Games for Windows game, all the files are encrypted, which means they have to be decrypted whenever these files need to be used. So that means an unnecessary amount of CPU usage is being done. Now, it does spread that CPU usage, but it sort of hogs all the CPU usage in order to decode. My CPU should be barely working, because I have the resolution set to ultra wide, which is 2560 by 1080, and it should be running perfectly fine. Now, as you can see, no hitches or stutters seem to be extremely apparent, but this is at the lowest setting, and this is not even running full 30 FPS. So what's wrong? You can clearly see that all of my cores are being stressed out a bit. They're all in the 80s to that, from 60s to 80s. Of course, core 0, I had to set the affinity to a lower affinity in order to get somewhat playable frame rates, because the game wants to hammer the first thread. That shouldn't happen, at least not in a game like this. So 7th place, right? That's that's terrible. That's awful. So let me restart it. Okay, but let me restart it with medium dynamic settings. All right, so this is just jumping up 1 tier. So this is gonna be pretty atrocious. Oh, let me turn that down. So 60 FPS, blah blah blah, flame smoothing and whatnot. So let's try that. Yeah. You will see how clearly how screwed up this game is when you want to turn any settings up. Now, people are like, oh, I don't care how it looks, I just want it to play smoothly. I agree. I wanted to play this game on my PC so that I'd have the full 60 FPS. And now it's saying I have to restart the game in order to get all the settings correct. Lovely. Okay, so there's that. And now, I did record this earlier today with full screen enabled. This full screen is not actual full screen. Gotta keep that in mind. It is a false full screen. It's a windowed full screen. But yeah, so fantastic. So you're probably noticing the game is running fairly smooth. So what's the problem? The micro stutters. Now, these micro stutters can become full-on stutters. Oh, cool. You're noticing that It's having streaming issues, texture streaming issues. This is a sign of uh, a bad port for me, because I should be able to render all these assets pretty quickly. I can play GTA 5 at max settings, at my native resolution, and it plays perfectly fine. And that's a pretty beautiful game. About as good as looking as this, and I can do whatever I want in that game. Of course, it doesn't have as good racing or anything like that, but at least it runs a full 60 FPS. And if you're keeping track of the frame counter in the right of the window, you'll notice that it's dropping into the 20s, the low 20s, and in some cases it drops down to the teens, which is really unbearable. So there's my girlfriend. She wants to go to Ruby Tuesdays. So, yeah. So I try to keep everything private, but I guess that's okay. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Now look, this game is really fun on Xbox. It's not so fun on the PC right now, and I can't really figure out why. Of course, I'm in 9th place, so I'm not gonna save that. That's ridiculous. So I'm gonna jump up another. I'm gonna jump up to high and show you how it can get worse. Now I should be able to play this game max settings, no props, at least at 30 FPS. So options, video. So let's go up to high. I just do high, save. So it's going to be applying more MSA settings, more settings that I'm pretty sure I should be able to handle here. Okay, let me close that. Fantastic. So, my settings have changed again. So, controls, blah, blah, blah. Don't need that. And I'll start the race again. Let's try it again. Believe it or not, it's actually running a lot better in windowed mode than it was at full screen. But the frame times are abysmal. Which means, sure, I'm still running around 30 FPS. But the frame latency, like where I can actually input anything in terms of controls, is abysmal. I'm having a really hard time trying to control my car right now. And I usually play this game fairly well, you know? And I'm going to do it one more time. Of course, you can see on the bottom chart there, bottom right chart, that dip. That's where the stutter occurred. And that's where my video card downclocked. Alright, wait, Valentine's Day is tomorrow. This is probably the worst port I've seen in a while. And it's by a company that honestly knows better than this. I'm sorry for my awful driving. I'm trying to focus on talking to you what's going wrong with it. That it's having some issues. So, and I'll open up to full screen and show you what's happening there as well. Alrighty. And this is just a Dodge versus Chevrolet race. Oh, 11th place. Oh, fantastic. Alright, I'm going to restart and go full screen for you guys. Options. Video. Full screen. So, now it's full screen. Now, let's see. The game looks good. I won't lie. The game does look good to me. Man, that's awful. This is terrible. Oh boy. There goes this road again. And there's sound stutters too. Oh boy. I promise I'm not this bad at this game. It's just, I really am having issues controlling this game. I really wish I could demonstrate. Like, it's only taking some of my input. I promise I'm not that erratic with the shifter either. Oh boy. Oh. I'm trying very, very hard. Oh boy. So, this has been the Beware of Forza Horizon 3. I know it's been a long video, but I wanted to make sure that you guys knew on multiple settings that the game is running pretty terribly. If you don't have an Xbox, do not get this game. Okay? Do not get the game. It's really not worth your time. It will frustrate you to no hell. So 12th place is where I'm finishing on the settings. So yeah, I'm not even gonna try Ultra because I think we all know what Ultra will bring.
Wanted to try finishing last just to see what it felt like, right? Gotcha.
Oh,
You can go back to
fantastic.
winning now.
Oh boy. So, alright guys, I'll see you on my next video. I hope that's not a few months from now like the last one. So, alright guys, see ya.